All right, now here's the deal. With the prior video, some of you guys are being a little stingy with your likes. I saw you there with your finger, not clicking the like button. I felt a little offended. I will get over it since we're now the next video, and you can redeem yourself by clicking the like button. Let's get right to this video. What is the future of the Social Security Administration? Now, I used to have these incredible ideas of which way Congress was going to take it in this giant dragon war between President Biden and past President Trump, or whatever the ultimate, end up will be. I used to have this like, oh, it's going to be this and that and this and that, but I don't know. I don't think that anymore. What I think is going to happen is that we're going to see a complete and utter ditto, if you will, of history. It upsets me. It actually does. Let me go through it. Here was an article that I thought had some good insight, basically, as to what's going on. It's from Fool.com, Motley Fool. You guys know them. I'm going to kind of fill in the details as to the stuff I think that they're missing from it, though. This was just to give you some basic sources. Let's see. This was created by Chuck Saleda, October 23rd, 2023 at 8:15 a.m. Let's go through it real quick. All right. Higher taxes, lower benefits, or some combination of both are likely in the future for that critical retirement program. Social Security is often called the third rail of American politics. It earned that nickname because it acts to politicians somewhat like the power-carrying third rail of an electrified train. Touch it, and your political career dies. With that kind of reputation, you might think that the program is in fairly good shape on the surface, with about $2.833 trillion in its trust funds as of the end of August 2023. It would certainly seem that way. Unfortunately, the surprising truth about the future of Social Security is that if Congress does nothing, those trust funds are expected to empty by 2034, cutting benefits by around 20%. So people get around 80% of benefits. Okay, let's get right into it. Social Security's reputation could very well be its undoing. Somewhat ironically, that reputation as a third rail may very well make it tougher to fix the Social Security's long-term problems. And then you've got to ask yourself, why is Social Security like the ultimate death blade to politicians? Is it that they just don't want it to succeed? Is it that some have tried and nobody cared? Some tried and then everybody turned on them? Again, remember, keep in mind, the ultimate theory of this is, why do careers end when politicians touch this? On both sides, not just Republicans, not just Democrats, on both sides. Take a moment, think about that. How would a Republican die from touching the third rail of Social Security? How would a Democrat also die from touching the third rail of Social Security? Why is it a third rail to everybody? Think about it. Here we go. The simple act of proposing fixes, even potentially well-intentioned ones, makes people a target for the opposing party. For instance, proposals to enable investing some of the trust funds in assets with higher potential returns than government bonds are lambasted as giveaways to Wall Street. More traditional approaches of either a more controlled benefit reduction on higher taxes are met with cries of throwing grandma off a cliff or choking off the economy from the higher taxes, respectively. That unfortunate reality means that even if you assume the best of intentions by those who wish to reform the program, very little is likely to get done until those trust funds are nearly depleted. Now, that right there, that was a big assumption mistake by this article. Let's go through this again. That unfortunate reality means, what they're expecting to happen, that even if you assume, even if you expect something to occur, the best of intentions, like what we really want it to work, we really want it to do well, by those who wish to reform it, Democrats and Republicans who are worried about Social Security benefits, very little is likely to get done until those trust funds are nearly depleted. Why is this person saying that? Why is this person saying in 2032 and 2033, as they're running out, that the politicians will run to fix it? Now, remember, imagine for a moment if Republicans and Democrats had a plan together, already in place, as to what they were going to do with dealing with these Social Security benefit issues. Imagine if they already had come together with a fix that they were going to like, but you were going to hate. Okay. All right. So there's precedent for that. Here's where the article continues. It wasn't until those funds were nearly empty around 1982 that Congress enacted the last round of major patches to the program, when both the Democrats and the Republicans came together to do it. Now, why did they come together? Well, the normal thing is, BK Dan, thank you for the $2 donation. Kenobi 2024, he's our only hope. I would love that. Honestly, even if we could get him in there with his cool little hand maneuvers and his awesome lightsaber skills, I totally support it. Let me go ahead and heart that puppy right there. Indeed, good sir. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. And thank you for the $2 donation. I super appreciate that. So here's basically the deal. Back in 1982, Republicans and Democrats, when they were a little bit more sane, let's just be fair about it, came together through this whole Greenspan initiative to basically change Social Security benefits through what I like to call the procedure of effing over the beneficiary. It's a simple doctrinal theory, but the bottom line is that the beneficiary gets screwed over. They get less money from the cost of living adjustment. They have to pay taxes on basically retirement benefits. They have to live longer to pay more into the system and then have less time to actually enjoy the retirement benefits. Yeah, it's just a crock of crap the whole way you look at it. But they came together and made a happy solution that everybody hated unless they were a politician who's getting paid anyways. Cool. Awesome. Even then, the best they could get implemented were very clear patches. And I like that way that they actually phrased that in this article. I think the article nailed that. They never had a fix in 1982 or the 90s thereafter. It was always a patch. It was a patch on the program, just like a failing program that had a bug in it that they had to work a little bit on, but they didn't have the money to actually fix it. Not permanent fixes to Social Security. The Greenspan Commission that worked on those changes were optimistically hoping their patches would keep the program solvent for 75 years. We knew they were BS shortly thereafter. Had those patches lasted that long, they would have kept Social Security healthy into the 2050s. Well, they did kind of for disability, but they sure as shit didn't for retirement. What can you do about it, the article asks. If there's an upside to the challenges that Social Security faces, it's that they are clearly visible a bit more than a decade in advance of them becoming a reality. Okay, what are they saying here? They're saying that we know the program's going to fail decades before it fails. They're saying that politicians are afraid of the program. They're saying that politicians on both sides of the program are afraid of the other side using it against them to end their career. They're saying that history has taught us that right before the program fails, Congress will come together and pass sweeping legislation that F's over the beneficiary. So my question to you is, now that you've had this brief introduction into the politics of Social Security benefits, what do you think is going to happen in 2032 or 2033 as these benefits are about to run out? Let me ask you, think about it, take a moment. I'm going to give you 5 seconds. I was expecting some chat in the chat section. There was zero chat. That had the opposite effect of what I wanted there. A little worried at this point. The conclusion should have been that these politicians, especially those in long-term positions that intend to be in continuously and repetitively, have already had discussions that they're going to let this thing get right up until the last moment where they just have no potential of doing something more beneficiary for the benefit, for those who are recipients, and they're just going to pass more legislation that essentially makes it worse for Americans, thereby lowering their standard of living. Because nobody in their right mind would ever ask, why is the retirement age going up for the richest country on earth instead of down? So, what do we know from history? We know that politicians make deals. What do we know from history? The deals they make, usually when they come together on something, do not benefit the people directly, but rather the government and its sustainability. Yeah, we know that. We know that from history. So as a result of that, if the politicians were to make side back room deals, what deal would they make? Old school truck driver, very cool. Love it, love it. Thank you for the donation. That's awesome. Very, very cool. Super dupe. Very cool. So my question to you guys, and we got 53 likes out of 109 likes, so we got some stingy fingers out there not giving the likes. My question to you guys is, would it be easier for politicians to take a lot of money that they want to use for other stuff to fix Social Security benefits, or would it be easier for the politicians to have a backroom deal that they'll let it get right up to the back, where they have to make a decision, then basically do all these procedures and rules that make it more difficult for the Social Security recipients to get their benefits, and then pass it saying, we had no choice, we had no hope, we had to do this. To me, the Democrats and the Republicans are working together on the same thing. To me, there's already a plan. We're just not in on it. Okay. All right. If the Greenspan Commission's patches taught us anything, it's that the next round will likely also involve some combination of benefit cuts and tax hikes. By investing now, you set yourself up to be in a better spot on both of those fronts. All right. So what are they selling with this whole thing? What they're selling is the Motley Fool. They're selling that you have to invest into things because your Social Security benefits are not inherently going to be enough. We know from the cost of living adjustments, which are total and complete BS, right? We're paying 15 to 30% higher at the grocery store this year alone. Last year, we saw 50% increases on some items that we buy. So we know that the cost of living adjustment is just shenanigans and BS math at this point. And we know that, unfortunately, they're going to likely have to legislate to make people take benefits farther down the road, which means, those in their 40s will have to work a couple more years to get retirement benefits. And the expectation that they'll use as an argument, as a counter to that, is that, well, they're going to live longer, so we're only giving them the same amount of retirement. Instead of investing into the program and raising the standard of living for those who have worked hard and built this country, they're like, screw them. They get the same amount of time as everybody else because now they live longer. Oh, old school truck driver. Thank you. I super duper appreciate it. That's awesome. Let me give the little like there. That's super amazing. I super thank you for that. Thank you. That's awesome. That's super cool. Thank you, good sir. I really appreciate it. So Motley Fool is saying you have to save, invest in things that actually make sense for your future, right? You guys know that I am, although not much this week, but next week will be more, spending time restoring a house. The whole point of that house is that that house represents my future benefits, right? Every month that somebody will pay essentially rent, that will represent a retirement check for me. Because as you've probably realized, as I've been studying this and presenting information to you over the years, I have come to the conclusion that retirement benefits will not realistically be useful in the future. And think about it. Think about why that is. Our money is devaluating at a spectacular rate. It's scary. It's like genuinely scary. And at the same time, the SSA is having a trust fund problem. And at the same time, which we'll cover in another video, whenever the trust funds have, a plus, government takes that plus amount of money and uses it for other stuff, which of course could be used for, our Social Security benefits going forward. But that's another video where we're doing a whole thing on the trust funds and how they work. So my point to you is, if you're in your 40s, you cannot rely on Social Security benefits. And the ironic thing is that people in their 40s, if they're disabled, they'll watch this channel. If they're not disabled, they're not going to watch this channel. Most people in their 40s don't even know what their Social Security benefits are, how they work, what FICA taxes are, why they're coming out, blah, blah, blah. They just don't know. They don't care because they have an innate instructional bias built into them. Look, if you went back to 1800, right, and you looked at, basically Americans from that era, and you went to 1900, right? You looked at Americans from that era, and you could even go farther back, whatever. But if you were to present a tax to those Americans going farther back in time, they would have been up in arms because that's not okay. How could you? How dare you? How would you? Right? The entire country, just to kind of solidify something, was literally created by pissed off people who didn't want to pay tax. That's it. Like when you're like, how did America get formed? Like, what was the reason, the impetus, the thing that put us into that we're going to be a new country thing? It was taxes. We didn't want to pay taxes. You know what we made from all that? We made these legal documents, right? These commandments that basically told the government, stay in your little box over there, or else we're going to slap you. And as a result of that, we've done a fine job of allowing the government to get completely out of the box and put us all in a box and then pay us less and less each year from that box, which is, of course, Social Security benefits, the thing that they promise us if we work hard. At some point, somewhere down the line, they have our back, which we now know they don't. So the tough thing about this, I see pizza. I see pizza in the thing. Rosa Campo put pizza there. Wish I had pizza right now. I really would. What is it? It's 1:17 a.m. There's no pizza. But wait, maybe. Do you guys know if Wawa does pizza at night? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. That would be a terrible choice for me to eat that, but I want it. So, point is this. Okay. Let's imagine a world where the Democrats and Republicans are actually part of the same team when it comes to long-term goals for things that they don't want to fix because they want to keep the money to spend on other stuff that they think is more important, like immigration or Ukraine. Right? I mean, that's fair. Those are fair, you know. Ultimately, what happens is that America becomes more and more of a poison pill. And Americans become poorer and poorer and poorer. And this land of luxury and freedom becomes more like a survival game. So my question to you is, do we as America continue to go the anti-national oriented way and we go more towards immigrant socialism? Because that's what we're doing. We have so many immigrants coming into this country at this point that we're literally becoming an immigrant socialism based country. What happens? What happens when we no longer have the promise, the dream, the beauty, the love of retirement sitting out in the distance like that grassy green field that we want to go and sit in and look at the butterflies and the flowers and the beautiful sunset and all that jazz? What happens when that grassy field turns into basically a mud paddock? Do people continue to work? I think they will. I think they will. And you know why? It's because they're going to need the money to eat. I really do. I really do. I think they're going to need the money to eat. And you know what I think is also, I think what's incredibly sad about this situation. Oh, Rosa Campo, thank you for the $5 for the pizza. Love it. Love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. Love it. So I want food because here's the thing. I ate at like 5, and you know, my nights are long, and my dogs ate at like 7. So they're asleep on the green screen. They're literally over there asleep on the green screen. Sweetie's right next to the whisper room. So point is this: how do we change the system to be more pro citizen? And I understand that some people, when they hear that, their brains have been taught to say, no, Americans have far too much. We must give everything to others. We do have like 70 military bases in Europe. We have 800 military bases all throughout the earth. And 70 countries have our military bases in them of the 800. So 70 countries, 800 military bases, somewhere around there. It's a roundabout number. So my question to you guys is, since we're protecting all of these NATO countries and quasi-NATO countries, who ironically go and buy a lot of stuff from China and Russia, who we're kind of protecting them from, which is like, I know it gets into like a weird thing there. At what point do we say Americans are too poor for us to have to protect everybody else? Who then do we not protect? Because remember, whoever we don't protect at that point, those other countries, China, Russia, parts of Africa, parts of the Middle East, they will take over those countries. They will gang up on them. So are you on the team where we have to be the great military force of the world that wants to be a quasi-republic, democracy slash republic, whatever we are? I mean, it's confusing at this point. We're like a militaristic, capitalistic democracy that wants to hold in its arms a republic, you know. Lisa Schuler, thank you for the 399 donation. Super duper appreciate it. That's awesome. Very, very cool. Love it, love it. Howdy Jamie, howdy Pearl's Pink. Wait, Pearl's Pink, is that a pearl or is that a Pokeball? Because that looks like a Pokeball to me. I may just have that on the brain because that's what I grew up on. In fact, actually, just funny side story. Pokemon cards were actually banned at Moravian Academy, the school I went to, as a result of my buying and selling of them and making a business out of it. Yeah. They were actually banned because I made a whole eBay business out of it and buying the cards from the kids, then selling them on eBay for a profit. I was a hell of a lot smarter back then than I am now because, man, let me tell you, if I just kept doing stuff like that, I'd have a hell of a lot of money as opposed to waiting for the SSA for over a month and a half for a check on any of the claims that I've won. All right. So bottom line is this. When it comes to politics, I want you to stop viewing them as two separate teams, but rather one team playing against the American people. And I want you to also realize that the SSA, the agency, is on its own little island. The thing that they need to be able to do better is the thing that Congress controls. So until Congress gives them that, they can't do better. So what's ironic is that they've brought, the commissioner, the assistant, operating manager, this or that, blah, 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 the deputy, this or that. They brought these people forward to basically embarrass them in front of the nation. But the one thing that is moronic about it is that if they just gave them the proper money to hire higher levels of individuals that are more trained and more educated and more capable of doing this incredibly important job. Like if you're sitting there like, nah, just let them hire the first out of college. Do you think it's appropriate that somebody will be deciding if somebody else is disabled? That person who has basically become homeless for the most part, who is barely living, maybe is lucky and has VA benefits or LTD benefits, maybe, but otherwise they're just literally waiting to run out of money. Do you feel a first-time job fits in that category? No, of course not. Absolutely not. What about the lady who stole 6 persons worth of SSI, their back pay and forward pay, and put it in her PayPal account, who was basically a field office representative who was working on supplemental security income claimants benefits? Man, what an agency, right? It is going through some dark times right now. It is not doing great. And you know what the sad thing is? The sad thing is that it's not all Commissioner Kijikazi's fault. It's not even part of her fault. The main blame, like if you want like the lion's share of the blame, it's on Congress. They've been saying year after year, we need more money. So anyways, oh geez, Cincinnati Fireball said, start from scratch. The experiment failed. It didn't fail. It's just we're all a bunch of floofy, just not thinkers. Think about it. It's easy to fix. All you got to do is have a certain percentage of the money not go into bonds and invest it into basically Wall Street stuff from the government. The government controls the investments, and then you get significantly higher returns on those bonds, and it fixes the problem. That's one way to fix it. Another way to fix it is to have Congress make future priorities from things that make money. And don't make it stuff like green technology. Yes, we're going to make all this money by hiring all these IRS individuals to go ahead and hunt down people, and the solar panels and the windmills will fix this problem. Yes, all the money we will make from solar panels and windmills, we can use that to supply the Social Security Administration. Look, guys, like at some point you got to realize like there's too much bullshit going on. And like if you want to invest in something that's going to make money, we already know what does make money. We see it done every single day. They didn't build those fancy, super fancy rock buildings that all the financial dudes hang out in with their little vests because they didn't know how to make money. The government is filled with some bright people, but it's not filled with the best of the best when it comes to making money. That's how it always works, right? What are law schools filled with? Failed attorneys, What are politicians for the most part? Failed attorneys. It's true. It's true. It's true. I mean, now some of those attorneys failed because the industry dried up. Like they couldn't make enough money to pay for the staff. Now you can't blame them. But some of them, they just sucked at their job. You can blame them. So point is, I think what's going to happen with this is that you're going to see Congress blaming basically the SSA, and then Congress will shift its blame over to groups of people that receive benefits and groups of people that are living longer. And then it will basically go ahead and piddle itself until it goes another 7-8 years. And then it will present as the white knights with a giant sword and the equally giant, shield thing, whatever shape it takes, and their beautiful helmet with the little eye thingies. They'll present a plan that F's over the beneficiary. We'll all have to accept it because the Supreme Court ruled that they can change the program when they want to. And that'll be that. It is interesting that Motley Fool's grand plan or fix to this is to start investing in other ways. I mean, they should have just come out and said it. They should have just said, you have to basically buy something that somebody wants to rent. You have to put away, something in Wall Street level, investments where it's going to continue to go up. You have to have a job when you're 82 years old. They just should have said it. They just should have come out and said it. It's unpopular, I understand that, but they should have just said it, Anyways, guys, I'll catch you a little bit later. It is 1:27 a.m. and I want pizza. And I don't know where I can buy pizza. I can't even go to Walmart to get one of those like little box pizzas I used to have as a kid that had like it was like a shiny drink in it. Oh, what was it called? It was like guys, help me out. What were those things called? They're like a little box. They have like 3 little pizzas in it. They suck. It's terrible. Then they have this little shiny little drink thingy in it. Now, I'm not Johnny. I can't go to White Castle Hamburgers. If you go to White Castle Hamburgers, I mean, I don't want to end up disabled. I don't want to end up disabled. They're going to sue me now. But the point is, like, I think we can all agree. White Castle hamburgers, they're super fun to eat. The sliders, super fun. But I don't want to have a problem. I'm just going to put it as that. Anyways, Lunchables. That's it. Lunchables. God, you guys remember those? Oh, total crap. But still, I eat them once in a while. I'll show up on the beach with a Lunchable. People will be sitting there with their like fancy food and this, and they're sitting there with their tents and crap. And I just walk out there because I have no life. I walk out there. I got 10 minutes tops. I'm eating a Lunchable, literally standing there and watching the waves. All the people are looking at me weird. The best part is when you stand there and eat a Lunchable and you just stand there and you don't look at anybody, then you just do a slow move left and right. Everybody's staring at you, which is interesting because you would think the beach would be more interesting than the guy eating a Lunchable at the beach, but it's not. It's weird because, everybody thinks they'd be looking at the women and being like, oh, wow, look at that. But no, they're watching the guy at the Lunchable. All right, I'll catch you guys later. You have a wonderful night. We'll go from there. Please remember to like and subscribe. I see 113 likes, 176 people in here. It's a finger. You use it to like. I will catch you later. You have a wonderful night. We'll go from there. Thanks so much. All right. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.